Hi, I'm Kendra Corman. If you're a coach, consultant, or marketer, you know marketing is far from a perfect science. And that's why this show is called Imperfect Marketing. Join me and my guests as we explore how to grow your business with marketing tips and, of course, lessons learned along the way. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Imperfect Marketing. I'm your host, Kendra Corman, and today I'm really excited to be joined by Mitch Carson. So, Mitch, thanks so much for joining me. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I have been in the marketing world for a long time. I don't want to share how many, but let's just say more than 3 decades. Oh gosh, did I do that? My background has started out, I would say one of the most effective ways to market is learning the world of sales, because marketing and sales run together. I would say I'm more of a salesperson coming from forcing my way in the door versus marketing allows the salesperson to take orders because they're already prepped mentally and have been screened properly financially in order to have the ability to buy. You know, it goes back to the adage of, you might have heard this expression, who's the ideal client? Somebody that's a starving crowd with money. They have to have the capacity to pay, and they have to want your information. So my background was hard sales and door to door, selling siding for homes in Los Angeles, where I grew up. And I started doing this at age 15, learning, knocking on doors, telling, get the F out of here. What are you doing at my house, kid? To, hey, why don't you come in and have some lemonade? So I had the full spectrum of responses to the invasion. Later, I learned another way where I became like Teflon, where rejection just meant the next door might be the one that gives me money. So I can then go and spend it on whatever I wanted at the age of 15. Where I learned there's invasive marketing. Then we've heard the expression of attraction marketing and selling, which became a lot easier. Finding people who've raised their hands and are ready to buy when they're ready to buy, because then it's that solid marketing sets in place order taking. Hardcore salespeople get their nose bloody a lot. I think there's a good place for it to learn. You learn through getting kicked in the face. I taught martial arts for years, and there's no way you can become a good fighter watching it on video. You got to step into the ring and absorb some blows in order to then know how to duck punches and kicks that are coming at your head. You have to know what it's like. You can't play football on your thumbs. You know, you got to get on the gridiron and play and do all of this. So I think the background that I have has exposed me to the hardcore selling, then later learning the art and science of marketing, because it is art and science. There are creative components, and then there are scientific elements for measurement, and then to know, okay, lather, rinse, and repeat. Let's do this again and again, finding what makes people respond, as opposed to jamming it in on them, because that creates refunds. So my background, then I worked selling products on live TV on Home Shopping Network. And that is where I would call that the Super Bowl of selling, because if you're not selling per second, you're fired. This was long before President Trump used that cliched saying that gave him so much of a brand. You're fired. He loved that. And his mouth got big. The big O of the mouth. And then I think that he used that as a springboard, of course, to 2 terms as a president. He's the ultimate salesperson by example, from old school, persuasion, selling, persuading, science, some art. You have to use your gut. How do you develop a good gut in selling and marketing? Through experience, failing your way to success. And that's maybe a little bit of a longer intro than I expected, but it just gave some background.
That's okay. I think it's really good because I think, learning those lessons early on, how to talk to people, because I would say currently a lot of this generation or newer generations have really been, they struggle talking to people. They struggle having those conversations. They're deathly afraid
because
of the
of
word
this,
no.
because of the phone.
Yep. And they're deathly afraid of the word no, which is, scary in itself, right? And I still remember I went through Sandler sales training, and he said the only two things to be afraid of are death and dismemberment. No is not a word to be afraid of. So
yeah, I studied that. What's the bicycle book on Sandler? There was something about the bicycle.
You can't learn to ride a bicycle at a conference. Is that that one?
Something to that
Something
effect.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a
we'll
great
find
metaphor.
it and put a link in the show notes.
It was good. But Sandler sales, it's a good system. It's takeaway selling. I guess you don't really qualify for it. It's interesting. So it was a good system.
Takes away a little bit of the fear for some people. So that's good. Now, one of the things that you do a lot of is helping people get on radio and TV shows. And that is really to establish them and build their authority, right?
Correct.
So let's talk about this. We throw around the word authority a lot. Google talks about it when it coming into search in one of their key search factors. Can anyone become an authority, and how do they go about it?
Well, there are ways of doing it. So let me address a little bit of context and background. Why I got into being a publicist per se is I created this model for speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants to then separate themselves from everybody else. It sounds a little bit cliche, but the people who invest in marketing themselves and creating that authority, overused term, yet, okay, show me the proof. Show me the proof. And it's not buying logos by sending out press releases to a bunch of news outlets and saying I was covered on. No, you sent out a press release. That doesn't mean you were covered on a TV channel, on a network television show, which is, of course, the highest credibility in the land, in my opinion. Being on a podcast like yours is great. Network television that has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on branding and is nationwide in our union is quite a different level of credibility. Joe Rogan could argue that his podcast is as important. Probably is on that platform. But let's do a little bit of the traditional. There's a different type of experience when you go in, when you have multiple $100,000 plus cameras on robots spinning around, zeroing in on you perfectly with trained journalists, with trained cameramen or camera women, if the term is applicable, all there focusing on you on a live set where your interview is 4 minutes max. That showcases you in a different light than going to the worst type. We talked about the professionalism of podcasting. You're obviously a pro. I get that. I was on a podcast in contrast with a man in Pakistan. He was using his phone and was lying on the side, and I heard donkeys screaming outside, traffic, horns, and the window was open, and he had his phone like this. That was his podcast interview. So you have all extremes out there. So I think it's important to brand yourself correctly. Brand yourself using I would never use that podcast. It just went in the trash. Could never use it. And I asked him to remove me after. I don't want my brand associated. Be careful where you broadcast. Do it with intention. And would your grandmother be proud of you? This is a little bit of a benchmark. Okay. Would grandma or grandpa be proud of you and smile and want to talk about you at bridge? When they have their grandkid on TV, yes. They're on Kendra Corman's podcast, yes. There's credibility. There's professionalism. Use the platforms that make sense. And why I got into this was as a seminar promoter, producing now almost a little over 2,000 events worldwide and many virtuals, but mostly live events where people came in, meaning live in person. There's, of course, live virtual now, but live and in-person events. I found that many people were great content experts. People talked about relationships, body language, spirituality, sales, marketing, leadership. You get the gamut. Health. These are all common topics that people How do you differentiate yourself from the other people? One, having a book. Necessary credentialization exists with a book. A series of books, again, separates you and puts you at a higher level. Then you're in the master's degree category. 10 plus books, you've got a PhD, which makes you piled high and deep with books. But that's a necessary credential. It's way beyond the business card. It's credentializing yourself. Then, of course, taking it to the next level, are you a bestseller in your category? Are you an international bestseller, meaning in 2 different countries on Amazon, meeting their criteria for bestseller status? Then, have you been on a multitude of podcasts, good podcasts, e.g. yours and some others that we talked about? If you've been on Entrepreneurs on Fire, which is one of the biggest podcasts out there in the space, or ultimately Joe Rogan's podcast, wouldn't we all love to be on his? And those are other credentialing platforms. Network television, in my opinion, is the highest because it's the hardest to get on. And you have to be prepared for it. Preparation is key. You just can't walk in and believe that you're going to be effective on network television. No, you must be media trained because, for example, here in Las Vegas, there are 5 different networks in English. There are 2 in Spanish, Univision and Telemundo, which are also here. But there are 5 that are in English. All of them are independent, different, under the networks of CW, NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox. You've got to be prepared. This is live television big leagues. And the interviews range from as little as 2.5 minutes to 4 minutes max, because those get squeezed in between commercials, which is how they make money. It's precision, professionalism. You just can't talk endlessly. How do you get on those shows? You're prepared. You've got a relevant topic that makes you interesting, so the booking agent / producers are interested in you. Let me repeat that. You're interesting, so they become interested in you. How are you interesting? By having a book which is unique to your thumbprint. One strategy. Second, timeliness of topic. For example, right now, AI is booming. 2 years ago, anything AI, like I got covered on all the networks here instantly because I produced a live in-person event at the South Point Hotel where we had 563 people attending our 2-day conference on ChatGPT, just ChatGPT. Now today, there are AI events everywhere, but it's still a hot topic, trending. It's not a fad that does this like Pokemon. No, it's trending. It's here to stay. It's growing. Look where the people with money are spending. Third is there so it's trending. You got a book. Third way to get on some of these channels, even podcasts, is all right. Does it follow a media calendar? You mentioned yesterday, or is it today, is St. Patrick's Day. Do you have St. Patrick's Day tips that anybody can apply to drive safely? Or what are the greatest things? Or do you have a good gadget, clothing with the latest designs on St. Patty's Day? The history, have you written a book on St. Patty's Day? Timeliness following a media calendar. We have upcoming Mother's Day. If you have Mother's Day relevant promotions. Father's Day. Oh, July 4th. We're in America. Anything July 4th, back to school. These are all elements. And I'm going to give you a list, Kendra, of the media calendar that you can share with your listeners and viewers.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So that would be just a little gift you can put in the show notes so people know what it is. And that's a way to get in the media. Those are the 3 most common ways if you're to go out and earn a spot, because you just can't. People say, oh, you just say, I want to get on TV. And how interesting are you? Are you trained? Are you ready? Have you eliminated saying right at the end of a sentence, or do you yourself to death with people and say, not people who've gone through my training. I haven't said it once, nor will I ever, because I got it beat out of me. Right?
I have not had it beat out of me. Yep. And so seems to be my, that's my magic filler
all
word.
You have to do is listen to yourself and realize, was that a necessary word? That's how I coach people, to get rid of those verbal faux pas, filler words.
Yep. Filler words. So is my favorite one. That's the one. That's my go-to.
That's a hard one for me too.
And yeah, it's rough, but
ISO people a little bit. No ums, no you knows, and certainly not right. Because when someone says that, I say left or like is a killer one.
Oh yeah, that's a killer. I used to do that one.
Like
you're
not from California. What are you doing?
No.
You're from Michigan.
I live in Michigan now, but I grew up all over the country. But that was, when I was a teenager in the late 80s, early 90s.
You were liking.
That was the thing.
Okay.
So before we started recording, we actually were talking a little bit about your audience, and it's very big in Asia, right?
Yes.
So if somebody is looking to go international with their message, what recommendations do you have for them? Because I love the authority. I love the TV. Yes, TV outranks my podcast. I'm totally cool with that.
I'm not picking on you.
No. But it's true.
The money was spent in branding it.
Yeah, exactly. And the viewership is different. Like there's just a lot of stuff that goes with it. And that, trust me, I'm not competing with mainstream TV, and I'm good.
It's a different platform. What is best? All of it.
But people are very impressed when you're on TV.
Correct. And especially my generation.
Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of people out there that get impressed with TV. I have clients all the time that they get a TV spot, they're like, oh my gosh, I was on TV and let's put this everywhere. And I'm like, sounds good. Let's put it everywhere. So everybody knows, even the people that didn't watch it.
Sure.
So that was very good. But if they want to go international, what do you recommend for that?
Contact me and pay me, and I'll make it happen.
Very cool.
I'm not shy, in case you haven't noticed. It's where do you want to go? Buy some consulting time and I can give you the roadmap. Because like you, I don't work for free, nor should anybody. It's like, okay, you want to know that I can give a few tips, which I'll happily do. In order to be international, you got to start here first. Why should they talk to you? Because you're a nice guy. Nice guys finish last. Okay. There's a book on that. You've got to be branded here before I can take you there. So the first thing I'm going to say is, if you want to get on TV in Las Vegas, I'm your guy, because I guarantee television. Guaranteed coverage. Not like other publicists who want a monthly fee with a 6-month contract. No, you pay me one fee for a guarantee. You pay me $10,000. I'll get you on 4 channels guaranteed, with the media training to enable you to be effective on camera. And I've got the credibility. I have my own show on NBC here, and I was a pitchman on Home Shopping Network for 3 years. Live camera work. I think I'm as good as anybody to coach people to be effective on television for that 4-minute spot. So that's how you go international, is you start here first. Get your own house in order domestically. And then if you want to go international, okay, it's a lot easier because you've got American television. Many of my clients, my biggest market is Singapore. Many of my Singaporean clients have been able to get on their local TV channel, which is Channel News Asia, which is the government channel in Asia, by being on TV here. Yes, I got them on television here. They did their virtual interviews with NBC and CW here in Vegas, which I made happen for them. Then they went to CNA, which is the big dog, the only game in town with the government channel. Population 6 million people, small country, but rich, very rich. They were able to leverage that to then get on TV there in their own home country. Why is that valuable? Why did it happen? Because the show producers found that they were interesting. If they were on American television, there is no bigger credibility. In our market, we know this. You're from Detroit. I'm in Vegas. I'm from LA originally. There's nothing higher than being on the morning show in New York City. That's top of the food chain. I can't claim that. I have not been on the morning show in New York. Would I go do that interview? You betcha. You betcha. Yeah. Well, these 230 pounds would be running to the airport. I'd have a heart attack, but I'd have but I would get there. That's the ultimate. It hasn't been necessary in my particular career, But getting clients to that stage, yes, I've gotten them. But you have to start in your own market and you build up. It's an ascension model. Some people talk about print publications, still applicable, and that allows legacy value today. There are fewer publications. But if you can brag that you were covered in Forbes, you were covered in the Detroit News, I don't know what newspapers you have left there, whatever it is, grab it while you can. I'm sure Troy, where you're from, has something.
We do.
It might be available to your maybe your parents still read it. I like newspapers when I can read one. I do a lot of reading online, but I still like that. I have personally been covered in quite a few newspapers in foreign countries. I use that as fly-ins to legitimize me and credentialize me and for my clients. We've created press conferences in Manila, which was much easier, where we had newspaper reporters come in from the Chinese publication, of which there were 3, Tagalog, which is their national language, and English, all come in asking speakers who had gone through my speaking mastery program, who wanted to level up their credentials, to be interviewed there. And then we got them all on CNN, which was also in the Philippines, and the other channels, which you've never heard of unless you've been in Asia. But there are other much bigger channels than CNN. CNN is the biggest name that you would recognize, but in the Philippines, there are others. And then getting them on radio shows. Now we're getting them on podcasts. And podcast is exploding. It's a great platform. That's why, and thank you for having me. It's been a privilege to be on yours. And I, of course, will distribute this as more of a credentializing of my background being on your podcast. And of course, I'm going to invite you to mine.
Thank you. And I think that that's important. So a couple things that I'm taking away. One, a book is definitely going to help build your authority, right? I don't think anything really beats that. I wrote a book. Even if people don't read it, you wrote a book.
Fancy business card, yes.
That. It is a very fancy business card, which is why I wrote a book. I was motivated to do so because I never intended to do that. But it was a huge differentiator for me as I looked to book speaking gigs and talk to people more about it. And then no matter really where you want to go with your business, internationally, domestically, you still have to start here. You have to start local and you have to build your authority locally before you can go beyond that. So very cool, very great information. And I think that there's actionable steps that people can take from this. And if they want to go to the next level, definitely contacting you, and we'll have your contact information in the show notes, is a big step. But before I let you go, I do have the question that I ask all of my guests. That is that this show is called Imperfect Marketing. Marketing is anything but a perfect science. We established that it definitely is part art and part science, but definitely not all science, right? So what's been your biggest marketing lesson learned along the way?
All right, I'm going to go back in time a little bit. I'm going to pull something out of the archives. 9/11 happened 24 years ago, almost 24 years ago, 23 and a half years ago, to be exact. I was living in Los Angeles. I owned an ad agency at that time, married at that time. I was shocked by 9/11, like anyone. After 2 days, because the world was turned upside down, I returned to my office, was walking upstairs because my showroom was downstairs, all these items that we had. And I had a trade show display company also where we had all the displays laid out. And I'm walking up the stairs and I see a roll of toilet paper with the IRS 1040 form on it. That was one of the promos we ran for a client it was part of a campaign. I don't remember what it was. And I thought, that's how I'm going to contribute as an American. I can't enroll in the Marine Corps. My knees are screwed. Can't do that. I thought, I'm going to go back and I'm going to fight for it. It was crazy thoughts. It was just a reaction of being a man. My country had been assaulted, and I thought, I'm going to react. The better way is to come back with an economic aid to those that have been victimized due to the invasion of our country. So I put Osama bin Laden's face on toilet paper, and I said, wipe out terrorism, putting his face where it belongs. That earned me publicity around the world. I hired a publicist, paid her $10,000 for, she said, Mitch, this is going to be a fad. She warned me. She was absolutely great. Other publicists, not so great, but this lady was honorable. She's not with us anymore, but she charged me $10,000 for, $10,000 a month for 2 months. That was the standard rate for a publicist in LA. Anybody that was good. So I gave her 20 grand. She got me on television stations around the world. Hundreds of radio stations, I couldn't do them all, wanted me. And how did I market? That's to answer your question, to where I had the phones, literally I had a phone room of people, everybody on staff. I had 17 people answering phones and taking orders because we used a platform. Television was one. I was on Fox TV and a multitude of others that had come and interviewed me in my showroom, showing this and the whole background. I use something, I'm going to shock you. This will turn your hair green. Fax broadcast. Back then, that was my number go-to. Now, it became illegal and you got fined and all this, but I would send faxes from Canada. That's how I hacked the system. But fax broadcasting was the most effective click-through ratio. Click-through is the newer term, but it's called getting read ratio, where people read it, of any marketing platform I've tested before or after. More than chat, because everybody physically picks up a fax and looks at it. Either I'm interested or I'm crumbled up, thrown in the trash. But because of how we marketed, and I knew fax broadcast so well, we had the phones ringing off the hook. Selling the toilet paper, I had T-shirts with Bin Laden being chased by the devil with a pitchfork. I had targets with his face on it with the circles around it. We sold all sorts of things. Satan is coming for you, Bin Laden, and had his face like this. I had a whole line of merchandise, everything. We were selling like hotcakes for 6 weeks. Then it died. The interest died. People went back to the new normal, whatever that was. TSA was born because of.
I was going to say TSA was born. Yeah.
Yeah. TSA was born. Homeland Security was born. They didn't exist before that. These new government agencies, which now are part of our lives, it's been 24 years, are part of our lives today. They weren't then. But how did I capitalize on it? I acted. Number one, I used the right platform at the right time, right message, right time. And I acted quickly. I saw the opportunity and I acted. Within a week, I had copycat people selling toilet paper on the street corners all throughout America who took my concept, ripped me off, but it was the highest form of flattery is copying because I had a proven concept, but I was first in the world to do this. And I realized the power of media or publicity getting me out there. How did she get me in front of the media? Fax. She faxed all the media outlets. She knew what she was doing. I faxed all the military PXs across the world, American military PXs, because it went into their stores. There are bases all over the country and the world. I got the list, found the right list, and I faxed all of them. Now, that method may not be as effective or well received today. I don't even know people who have fax machines. Maybe lawyers do.
I had one. I'm going to say it's it's probably been close to 10 years now, 11 years.
Okay.
I used to get a daily fax from some news company that would send me the highlights. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, but
I read it every day.
Yeah, I think there might be e-faxes today in some cases, but we use email. It's changed. So would email be as effective? No, because you can click away easier. You've got to have the compelling headline. But my most successful sell through on any of my marketing campaigns, I would say, of my history doing this, fax.
Very cool. That's so interesting. Well, and I think, it's meeting people where they're at with what they have and in a way that they don't want to look away. That's why I always talk about email versus social. It's way easier to scroll past things on social than it is. You at least see your name and stuff on email and you can control that a little bit more and maybe entice interest with a subject line, right? To get that open.
I'm
not as good as fax, but
Kendra, I'm from a little bit different generation than you, but you're also from a different generation than the young people who are shaking their bodies and exposing themselves on TikTok. That's a different generation from you. How would you market to them? How would I market to your generation? How would I market? I know how to market to my generation because I'm one of them. I know how we think. I'm a baby boomer. Different. I don't know which, you're an X. Okay. You buy and consume and interact with, you've got to know where your market lives. What pond are they swimming in? And so you have to appropriate that. Today, facts, I guarantee you, people under 30 don't even know what that word means.
They wouldn't know how to send one for sure.
Well, they wouldn't know how to send one. What is the purpose? What is that? Did my grandpa use that? Is that something I'll find in the Smithsonian? One day it'll be in the Smithsonian, I'm sure, along with the IBM Selectrics. These are, something called the typewriter. These are all old methods, but during their time, they were effective. We drive cars today. One time we were on buggies, horse and buggies.
My grandfather used to throw the Chicago Tribune off the back of the wagon that was pulled by a horse and buggy to the different news. That was one of his first jobs. So
my first job was a paper boy at age 10 for the Los Angeles Herald Examiner, which I got the papers served to me flat, had to fold them twice, put a rubber band on them, put them in my satchel, and it swung over the back of my rack in the back on my Schwinn bicycle, and I would pedal and throw as I was going down the road.
My first job after college was an advertising assistant at the Center Daily Times in Center County, Pennsylvania. So I think we all start in newspaper, right?
Yeah, it's good background. Journalism is great. You speak in terms of facts and you learn why people buy.
You do. You definitely learn. The team there took me under their wing and I learned a lot there. A lot more than I think most people assume. So very good. Well, thank you again so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. I appreciate that. Hopefully you learned something today. And if you did, it would really help me out if you would rate and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. And if you want to connect with our guest, Mitch, later on, feel free to check out those show notes or the video description that's located right below this video and be sure to connect with him. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your day.